right, welcome everybody to the November Pathways to Adult Success Solutions Forum. We're very excited about today's topic. It's a really important and essential one, system to support high schoolers' transitions to college and career. And we have two great speakers who are both some of our most recent Design Challenge teams. We're going to hear from Bryan DeFoney from the Philadelphia Education Fund on the work they're doing on the College Access Toolkit. And then we're going to hear from Rich Harrison from Lighthouse Community Charter Schools on some work they're doing to address college persistence and income inequity. Before we do, we're just going to set the stage a little bit, and then as we go through, there'll be time for you to share questions, and then we'll have a discussion and resource sharing at the end. As usual, we have a diverse audience here today, folks from K-12, higher ed, nonprofits, State Department of Educations. We really encourage you to share your ideas, your resources, ask questions in the chat as we go along. And then after each talk, we'll have some Q&A and we'll be able to address those or have you talk a little bit about what you want to share. We are gonna, as always, tape this and send it out to folks afterwards, along with all the resources we've developed. Building pathways to adult success for and with all students has never been so crucial. We know the pandemic has disrupted existing student support and guidance systems. It's really made uncertainty the norm, and therefore momentum to and through post-secondary is being impacted. And we really know from all that we know that when momentum is impacted, not great things happen. And that's why these two topics today are so timely and so on point to really where we as a nation have got to really do some creative thought and some innovative thought and some collective effort with some urgency. Otherwise, we risk literally losing, classes and classes of kids that have not got the transition supports they need to go from high school to a pathway to post-secondary success and ultimately adult success. And just to sort of set the stage for this and why I believe these topics are just so timely is that we really have to think through as a collective learning community, how we're going to meet this challenge, what I call the false positives of a tight labor market, right? Which is right now we're, and it's ebbing and flowing maybe a little bit, but for the past, 18 months, 2 years, we've sent strong signals to our youth that jobs are available, and jobs that from their perspective, from their, where they are as an adolescent and what's been available historically in their community, don't look so bad. And a number of jurisdictions have raised the minimum wage to $15 an hour, and jobs that may not seem appealing at $7 an hour seem more appealing at $15 an hour. So we know some principals we've worked with have told us for the first time they feel like they're fighting the labor market, and that's really a new phenomena. And you might say, well, that's great. Don't we want kids to get work experience and get jobs? And isn't that how you build a pathway to the future? And haven't we always talked about how bad the youth labor market is? And now that it's good, why are you complaining? And there are benefits, but there are these false positives that we are aware of and just want to bring to the forefront. Which is what looks good today might not look so good tomorrow. And really we're building our kids and our communities for the future, right? Not just for the immediate. So, the story I like to tell here is that the earlier fable is that we were doing a lot of our initial work on dropout prevention and addressing the graduation crisis. A lot of folks asked us, are there places where kids are leaving school to go to work? And we only found 2 places where that was true, where you could see evidence that kids were leaving school because they were getting jobs. And at that moment, they thought that was a good decision. One was Florida and the tourism industry, right? And the other was Nevada. And at this time, if for those that follow these facts closely, Nevada had the lowest graduation rate in the nation. It was in the upper 50s. It really stood out as being, even at a time of low graduation rates, Nevada in the mid-00s was in the low 50s, high 50s, right? Which means almost half kids were not graduating from high school. And it turns out that the driving factor then was the booming home market right, fueled by all those subprime loans before they collapsed, led to a tremendous building boom in Las Vegas, where land and housing were cheap, which brought tons of people in seeking that, which created lots of jobs in construction and landscaping that paid relatively good wages. So that was pulling kids out of school. But we know what happened then, right? In 2009, the banking bubble burst. All those subprime mortgages came due. The landscaping business dried up. No one was paying to keep the lawns they didn't have anymore. And no one was building more houses. So all those kids that left school, didn't get a diploma to join those trades, were laid off. And then they were in their mid-20s, having dropped out of high school in a labor market that no longer needed them, right? So that's an example of that false positive. And there's some, maybe as a nation, we're playing that out a little bit now, right? And that's what I'm giving us to. And then two other things we need to sort of address in this thinking is again, the positive is that a lot of kids gained agency during the pandemic by working. And that is a positive. But how do we channel that agency into work-based learning experiences that lead somewhere, as opposed to just, yes, as a 15, 16, 17-year-old, you can get agency being a food delivery worker, but that's not going to really support your family at 27. And there's no real upward mobility, right, for a food delivery worker. And then the other one, that's out there too, that's, I think, fueling some maybe, false positive, not informed, thinking they're informed, but they're not informed decisions, is these very legitimate concerns about the cost of college. But that's coupled with a real transparency about what colleges really cost. And I may have told this before to this, but I'll tell it again, is that, again, this lived example we've seen multiple times where a student will be very excited about a potential to go to a selective university or college based on them doing great in dual enrollment or some other experience in school. And the first thing a member of their family does is they Google the school, and the first thing that pops up on Google is the full sticker price of that school. So you put it in Columbia University and you get $65,000 a year, which to that family is 3 times their family income, which just seems implausible, right? Not knowing that for a student of that family income, they would probably get a free ride, but there's no transparency. So that's another area where we have false positives out there, sending signals to our students that they are then acting upon in what seems a rational way, but it's a false positive. So that's my little preamble to set up our 2 great presentations today. They're going to really give us some solutions to these dilemmas. So I'm so excited to start with Bryan DeFoney of the Philadelphia Education Fund to hear about the work they're doing on their College Access Toolkit. Bryan, over to you.
Yep. Thank you so much, Bob. I appreciate it. And thank you for that introduction. And I just want to say hello to everyone from Philadelphia. And thanks to everyone at Johns Hopkins University's The Everyone Graduates Center. It's a real pleasure to chat with you all. So today I'm going to talk a little bit briefly about our design challenge that we went into last year, and we focused on College Access Toolkit, building a structured, proactive plan for high school students. And so by way of introduction, I am Bryan DeFoney, and as Bob mentioned, I am the director of the College Access program at the Philadelphia Education Fund. So Amanda, we can go to the next slide. So I wanted to frame us a little bit in just who we are at the Philadelphia Education Fund. We have a rich history with Johns Hopkins University's Everyone Graduates Center, and I just wanted to kind of ground us in that. So we are a comprehensive educational nonprofit that provides a portfolio of services from college access and success programming to developing great teachers in Philadelphia and building paths to career and college success. We look to unlock potential for all of our students and improve our city here in Philadelphia and our community. And we try to change lives every day through one student at a time. Additionally, something I like to share because it's really exciting about the work that we do, and in particularly as the director of our College Access program, is we are the largest non-university affiliated scholarship in the city of Philadelphia. So we provide up to $600,000 annually to students coming from our College Access program. In our program, we call the Philadelphia Scholars Last Dollar Scholarship Program. So it is a last dollar scholarship program, and those are our dollars that we look to invest in our young people. And so we have a literal vested interest in making sure our students are succeeding. So in front of you, you see our mission, our vision, and our approach here at the Ed Fund. So our mission is to create equitable access to opportunities for students by providing resources and expertise that build paths to college and career success. Our vision is that all young people in Philadelphia have the skills and the opportunities to succeed, again, in college and career. It is a big focal point of ours. And we do this in three big ways, three big buckets. That is direct service, which is what my program is, systems level change we do through our PPSP team. And then, of course, we do collective impact work through some of our ecosystems that we have here at the Philadelphia Education Fund. You can go to the next slide, Amanda. So a little bit about grounding us in the design project that we have been delivering on now. So here's the problem of practice in Philadelphia. We are 26% of Philadelphians live in poverty. We are the 6th largest city in America, and we are the poorest big city in America. We see that every day in our neighborhoods, in our schools, and so it's a real crisis that we work intentionally on here in Philadelphia. We are 92nd out of 100 cities in college attainment. We have a real college access attainment crisis here in Philadelphia. And again, our graduation rate hovers anywhere between 69% to about 72%. And it's been pretty consistent for a few decades now. A little bit about our program and our students. So we are a federally funded talent search program. So we fall under the U.S. Department of Ed's kind of trio umbrella. We are on the talent search side of that, which is College Access. And in our program, we serve 1,700 Pell eligible first generation to college Philadelphia youth in grades 9 through 12. So we do serve all 12 grade bands. And we have students attending, we're in 6 neighborhood low graduation rate high schools. And it's important to call that out because we do serve students in neighborhood public high schools. We are not in magnet schools or special select schools. And we work from college access straight through to college success. And that's our mission and vision here, as I shared. We can go to the next slide, Amanda. So a little bit about our design project and the goals and the strategies around this. So the first is I wanted to start with our goal. So our goal is to guide our students in a timely manner through the college application process. If the pandemic hasn't showed us anything, it has shown that how important time-sensitive keys and goals are for our students. We have been living in this virtual world for so long where students gave up on so many things because it was just easy to accomplish things in certain manners, submit it, be done with it. We needed to make sure that there were students realize the time sensitivity and being proactive around making an informed college choice. So again, supporting students with matriculation through the utilization of our College Access Toolkit, which I'll show in a moment. The toolkit will focus and has focused on students utilizing proactivity and will help facilitate preparation, structure, and informed decision-making in the college match and fit process. As Bob mentioned, students so often just look at that sticker price. And so for us, we make sure students have all of the data at their fingertips before they make a decision so that they make the most informed decision. You can't do that unless you're proactive in this process. Our approach in this work as we move forward is to address the college attainment challenge that I shared with you that we have here in Philadelphia by helping students make better, more informed decisions during high school, especially during the fall semester of senior year, through our proactive, guided one-on-one approach by our embedded college access program coordinators in our high schools. So as I shared, we are in 6 public high schools here in the city of Philadelphia, and I have full-time staff embedded in those schools to provide college access support for students. I say all the time, we work in tandem with our school counselors to make sure we complete the project of getting our students to and through their college degree. And then finally, the toolkit itself, which I'll be sharing a little bit of and is linked that folks can have access to. But our college access program students must draw upon, obviously, social emotional skills necessary to achieve success during the admissions and financial aid process for college. Through this project, we wanted to create a time-sensitive, structured, interactive college access tool to help our students make earlier and more informed decisions about their post-secondary next steps. So through our interventions, we will address through kind of the post-secondary pathways challenge of helping students make better, more informed decisions, as I've shared. And our goal for them is to matriculate, persist, and ultimately graduate with a 2 or 4 year degree as aligned with the PASS framework. And we work really hard in our one-on-one sessions, in our small group sessions with students to make sure students are accomplishing the tasks in this toolkit. So now, Amanda, if you can go to the next slide, we'll look very quickly at an example of the toolkit. So here, and it was just shared, the link for everyone. So we have created this interactive PDF toolkit that will help keep students on track beginning in junior year of high school, supporting them over the summer of their rising senior year, straight through their senior year. This is an interactive toolkit, as you can see. And so the goal of this is my staff have utilized this toolkit to make sure that they are utilizing this as the driving force to have one-on-one coaching sessions with students in our program. And the plan is that you can see as you scroll through, there are areas for students to communicate with CAP staff members on. We upload this into a drive that students have private access to, and then our college access program staff can go in and update and see where students are in the process for being admitted or going through the admissions process for college. We utilize this to craft our one-on-one conversations with students so that we make sure our students are on track to apply for college, complete financial aid, the verification process, and then ultimately give them as much time as possible before that college signing day deadline where they can make the most informed, the most round decision. As our CAP students, close out their junior year, we want to ensure that they utilize the knowledge that they have gained to proactively plan for their senior year. So these steps are necessary for college admissions and matriculation, we believe. We capitalize, as I shared, with our one-on-one model, which is really the framework and really our bread and butter in our program design, is that we're able to go in and have these conversations one-on-one with students to support them through this process. We also engage families in this process. I think that's very important. This tool, we want it to be interactive where they are utilizing it at home, reviewing it with parent guardians, and then bringing questions to school so that our college program team can help to dispel myths, mitigate some of the fears and concerns that parents and students may have, to really break down the process in chunks throughout each month. And we check on students every single month in our program, and we look at what they've accomplished, what they haven't, and make sure that they are on track with their peers to hit those key indicators. So Amanda, you could go to the next slide now. So our desired outcome. So we are in the process of beginning to roll this out now for, we will be in really early spring next semester for our juniors. And to give a little context of how we wanted to do this is we host every year a junior retreat where we bring all of our juniors together. So we serve cohorts of students at each of our public high schools. We bring our juniors together and we do a retreat. We reflect on their high school experiences. We have guest speakers who have come through our college access program. And we really highlight the excitement of senior year, but we also want them to begin to think proactively about their next steps. Senior year flies. For us that are in the K-12 schools, we know how fast senior year goes. And so we want to make sure our students feel confident going into the summer of junior year that they have a plan for the fall of senior year to get them to their end goal after they graduate high school. And so the way as we distribute this tool for our rising seniors, we're looking to have the following outputs and outcomes that we kind of have as our desired outcomes. We want to evidence among students of increased knowledge on necessary skills needed for successful best fit and decision making. For us, we know match and fit is crucial for students. We see students who matriculate on college campuses and they do not find themselves on that campus, and therefore it becomes a persistence barrier. So how do we begin to have that early exposure to these institutions? Well, we need to know where students are interested. So qualitatively, we're able to capture that information in this toolkit so we can help students start to look at some of the quantitative and qualitative data of those institutions before we even move forward with getting them on campus or getting applications out the door, but understanding the larger picture that they are looking at when looking at institutions and comparing options. We will employ a pre and post event surveys to assess the students' knowledge and acquisition over the academic year. So again, as we send this out, we will get kind of a pre-survey out to students, and then we'll have our retreat and wrap it up at the end of the school year of their senior year and kind of evaluate on the post side of things how they feel this tool went in the utilization of this process. The second thing we're looking to achieve here is a demonstration of a student effort to implement their past knowledge. We will gather from students a copy of their toolkit, which we are kind of living and breathing in with them throughout the academic year, on which they will have been asked to detail what they will do, how they've done it to realize their goal of college matriculation. And then we will work with our school partners, because we don't do this in a silo. We work very closely with our school partners to see what actions they took to implement their plan and what we need to follow up on to make sure students are hitting those key goals that they've set for themselves, utilizing the tool and having the qualitative coaching sessions with our students. And so, Amanda, if you wanted to go to the next slide very quickly. So something that I'm really proud of, and I was just sharing with the team before we went live, was that we're looking to constantly explore ways to get this out to a larger group of audience, to get more young people to utilize this tool. And so the design of our solution, as well as the measurement tools we seek to use, has the potential to inform the thinking and practice of kind of the larger college access and success community. And at the conclusion of this project, we aim to complete the following things. One is that we want to find out the early findings, which we're in the process of doing now, including program outcomes and feedback from both the cohort of students that utilize this tool and our college access program staff who've used this informed toolkit. We want to have a preliminary version of the toolkit so that, which we have and I've shared with you, so that we're able to meet the needs of students, but also this is going to be a living and breathing document. We're not claiming to have solved everything. So as students are utilizing it, as we're getting feedback from our students on what may be missing from the toolkit, we want to be able to expand the utilization of this tool and meet the needs of our students more comprehensively. Additionally, we want to have just general open-ended reflections from our students. What was this experience like? How did you like having somebody kind of following this roadmap behind you as we lay out the steps that are needed to take on a month-to-month basis to achieve your post-secondary goals? And then lastly, something I'm really excited about is we are in the process right now of piloting this for all juniors in one of our partnering high schools, which is really exciting. So we have a school counselor who's really excited about this opportunity because we have such a high student to counselor ratio, as many of our cities do. We want to make sure this is just an added tool that our school counselors can utilize to support their goals and their students' goals as well. And so we will be piloting this in the spring, later this year, as we roll it out to all juniors at one of our partnering high schools. And we're going to be able to really see the holistic impact that this tool could have on a school-wide body, as long as there's the appropriate follow-up and there's at least some level of accountability on the students' end. So there's discussion we're having right now about how we can fold this into potentially some senior capstone classes to make sure, again, one of our goals here at the School District of Philadelphia is 100% college and career readiness. And so this would fall right in line with some of our graduation pathways that we have outlined for our students. So I wanted to kind of just give that high-level overview of our college access toolkit and the way we're utilizing it here at the Philadelphia Education Fund and in the School District of Philadelphia. And so the next slide there, that is my contact if anybody has any other additional questions. But we cannot thank the Everyone Graduates Center more for investing in us to make this tool for our students to really close the degree divide that we see here in Philadelphia. So I look forward to the conversation, and I will turn it back over to Amanda.
Thanks, Bryan. So I welcome folks to put your questions and thoughts and ideas in the chat, and we'll look at them and share them out. And as well you're doing that, I'll just start, and I have a very small sort of operational question and then a bigger conceptual question. So the operational question: are students mainly accessing this on their phones then? Like, is that the idea? So they or a computer?
So currently we have it set up in Google Drives because we have Google Classrooms for all of our students, and it's the easiest way in real time to be able to engage with students in that. Most of our students have some type of computer in school, like notebook or whatever they call them nowadays, Chromebooks. But I would say the vast majority of students are engaging for the most part on their phones with our college access staff. And of course, we're pulling this information out and having one-on-one conversations, but that is where most of our students are, and it is capable to be utilized on the phone.
Yeah, that's great. And then the conceptual thing, and what I really like, where I think this will have a lot of power, is that it's really combining an idea of a checklist and a communication, right? Because there's a lot of checklists out there, but we noticed the paper and pencil checklist is better than nothing, but it's not going to get a lot of because kids are kids, they're gonna, But this has this interactive element, right? If I'm understanding it correctly, where it's both prompting you to enter stuff. You just can't passively say, check, whatever. And it facilitates a dialogue. So that builds an expectation of interaction, right? As opposed to just sort of a private thing that you're doing with yourself in a checklist.
Exactly. And one of the things, the facilitation of dialogue is really crucial because, again, as I mentioned, the hallmark of our program is our one-on-one and small group sessions. And so it is the students they are the ones that are carrying this discussion. They are really driving the conversations, and we want them to have ownership in why they're engaging with our program, because we're an optional program. And so that's really, really important for folks to know that they can choose with their feet to walk out of our office just as much as they can to walk in. And so we wanted to be driven by the students. I did see a question about Naviance, the platform, and that's a great question. As a community-based organization, we're not able to get a data sharing agreement with the School District of Philadelphia at the level where we can get the granular data like Naviance would have. That's not to say we do utilize Naviance data with our school counselors, but collectively that can't be the response we fall back on for, one, our own reporting metrics federally, and just for two, programmatically. So this, in essence, is helping create this tool. And to the point of that question, one of our school counselors wants to see how we can capture more information in this tool to make sure Naviance is as up to date as possible before students are wrapping up their academic year. But for us, programmatically, we're not able to get access on a regular basis uniformly to Naviance because we're a community-based organization.
Great. We have a question from Grace. Does the use of the college toolkit start before junior year at all? Wondering what kind of prep students need before then, like thinking about extracurriculars, etc.
Yep. So we do serve grade bands 9th and 10th grade, so they are engaging with us all 4 years of high school. We introduce the toolkit at the end of 10th grade or sophomore year with the explanation of saying hey, this is what's coming down the pipeline. But our hope is that as students are utilizing this toolkit and each of the items on the toolkit, it is not the first time they're seeing them when they receive the toolkit. Our hope is that our curriculum that we have developed over 9th and 10th grade, that kind of early intervention, early action, is at least highlighting some of what is on this toolkit, so that when a student thinks about their resume or the or our state aid or our federal aid process, they've already been exposed to it to some degree. But we do serve students 9th through 12th grade, so we are having touch points with them previous to being introduced to this toolkit. That's a great question.
Great. Thank you. And we'll have some more time to address some more questions when we get to the end of our next presentation. But now I want to turn to Rich, and you'll see this is a really good continuation of how we keep our kids into and then through and then out of post-secondary. So Rich, I'm turning it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It's great seeing everybody here, and thank you to Hopkins and the Everyone Graduate Center Pathways to Adult Success for giving us the opportunity to share what we're doing, as well as for the grant support that we received last year. So just quick introductions. My name is Rich Harrison. I'm the CEO for Lighthouse Community Public Schools. We serve 1,600 kids K through 12 in East Oakland, and we're focused on East Oakland. So we've been around for about 20 years, and I've been in this seat for 3. And we've been thinking really deeply about college persistence and income inequity, just given the impact of the pandemic. Next slide, please. So all of us are from East Oakland, all of our students and families. Just a couple of things about East Oakland. During the pandemic, it was really hard hit over the last few years. You're looking at like 85–90% of the kids who didn't have Wi-Fi that we had to like set up for Zoom learning a couple of years ago. You're looking at COVID rates from these specific zip codes that were 5 times higher than the city of Oakland average. And it's really a health and a food desert, even though it's in a pretty, even though it's in the Bay Area. And so there's just a lot of work that we've had to do to organize our K-12 community charter schools to meet the needs of our community. Next slide. So in Oakland, the demographics have changed. If you're familiar with the Bay Area, the cost of living, the cost of inflation is sky high. And we've seen a little bit of, some of the families that we've served that have some means moving out of the region to the Central Valley, to cities like Sacramento or Stockton, where things are much more affordable. And those seats are being taken up by students who have really pronounced needs. So in terms of our profile, about 14–15% of our students are special education, over 92% free and reduced lunch. Half of our kids are multilingual learners, and we have a lot of work to do to meet just the needs of our kids. Next slide, please. The other big thing about us is in Oakland, we've had a growing population of students that are unhoused that qualify for McKinney-Vento. And so we've actually like 4x'd the number of families that we serve that qualify for that definition. And we have almost 70 families in our small charter network that qualify as homeless per McKinney-Vento. And we really work hard to make sure that as a K-12 system, and a system that's really focused on making sure kids have access to college and career, that our systems are working for those that are furthest from opportunity. Next slide. So we're in this really unique situation here in East Oakland. Like, we're really happy with our enrollment. People love our schools. Last year, the kids who were impacted by the pandemic, last year, 90% of our Black students, 85% of our Latinx students were accepted to four-year colleges. And just to kind of explain where they're going, California has a really great state university model. We had about 15–20% of our kids go to the UC system. Most of our kids will go to Cal State East Bay or San Francisco State University. We have maybe 25–30% of our kids headed to the community college system. And we're really fortunate to be in an area where there are institutions of higher ed that are going to meet our students' needs. But the reality is that the majority of kids are going to institutions that are a BART stop or a few away from their homes. And so we really need to think about, especially those students that are commuting to college, what is a realistic pathway for them to be engaged in college and career, because most of our students are going to be living at home. The other thing that we have is that like most urban districts, our proficiency rates fell at 12%. Kids that we're bringing into our school programming that are transferring in from neighborhood schools are coming 150 to 200 points, scale score points below standard and below proficiency. And so as a K-12 system, we're thinking deeply about what are some of the experiences that we need to build for kids so that they are on a college and career runway when that work just got a little bit harder over the last couple of years. Next slide, please. So I want to just define the problem that we're trying to solve here within our small charter school district here in East Oakland. Historically, 40% of our graduates finish college, which people may say that's great, but there's nothing worse than sending a kid to college. They take a student loan, they don't finish college, they come back to their community, they're saddled with debt, and they're working a service level job. That's what happens to the other 60% that don't finish college. And that's a reality that we've been looking really hard at. We just also downloaded our national clearinghouse data, and that 40% college graduation rate that we had pre-pandemic will not hold. We're seeing a decline in those numbers based on the clearinghouse data from the last 2 or 3 classes of graduates, and that's a real data point. We had to really think deeply about just the economic impact the pandemic has had in East Oakland. I think we're guilty of, I'm guilty of this personally, having worked in the charter sector, where we would kind of boast and beat our chest on the percentage of kids who go to college. But again, we want to start shifting into prioritizing persistence and graduation and making sure that our students are on a pathway to a family-sustaining job, more so than being college ready and getting kids into college. And so we're trying to shift that and really kind of name our shortcomings as an organization in setting up students and families for success. And quite honestly, we didn't really leverage local assets enough. Whether that's local businesses here in the Bay Area, as well as our community college partners. And that's a big part of our equation moving forward. Next slide, please. So our hypothesis and solution that we kind of came up with, that was part of our proposal for the seed grant from the Everyone Graduates Center, as well as it translated also into a strong workforce grant given through the state of California. Our hypothesis and solution was geared on kind of 4 principles, right? One is like, people say you got to teach your kids personal finance before they graduate. And that is 100% correct. But real talk, our students, when they finish high school, need to have a paradigm on how to build multi-generational wealth alongside their college and career pathways. 2 is our students need to understand how the world works, and particularly how the business world works. High schools maybe have a semester econ finance requirement. That's not enough to really build an understanding of how the world works from a business perspective if we're going to put them on this path to wealth building. We also realize that if we partnered more effectively with our community college partners in terms of dual credit, if we made sure that our kids are graduating with like half a dozen, 20 some college credits under their belt, especially if they are going locally within the Cal State campuses and community college campuses that we have here in Oakland and in the East Bay, we would be setting up our students for more success in terms of persistence rates. And then last, there's a real tension when our kids get accepted to college, go to college, they're living at home, they're expected to put dollars and food on the table, and they end up working a service level job at a Starbucks, a Target, places like that, or they're Uber driving. And that's what they're doing as their side hustle alongside college. And we were thinking, okay, what could we do to vault students from what I would consider the high teens to $20 an hour jobs while they're in college? What would be the set of experiences that we would want to give students in high school so that when they go to college, they could qualify for the $20 to $30 an hour jobs that's part-time working in an area of business that is connected to their field of study. So that was kind of our hypothesis and solution that we kind of defined as an organization through focus groups and deep discussions with our partners. Next slide, please. So we're really fortunate that we've gotten, as a district, as a small charter district, about $6 million over the next 3 to 5 years. About $2 million of that is going to be really focused on putting this pathway together. And, this is really part of not only our workforce development, pathways to adult success work, but also how do we create deep integrated wraparound supports through a community schools grant that we got, as well as how do we make sure that our teachers and our teachers on the come up have kind of this working paradigm of what we want to aspire as an organization, and really getting our K through 12 teachers to really think about their practice to set up our students for success by the time they enter the 11th and 12th grade. Next slide, please. So we took a couple of steps. We landed on this business academy concept really by looking at the Bay Area 2050 plan. There are a lot of great economists and labor force type researchers that dug really deep into just Bay Area in general. And we said, all right, what are the 20 to 30 dollar-an-hour jobs that our kids could qualify for after college, or or degree programs that would land them, a family-sustaining income after they finish college. And so this Bay Area report was super helpful for us to read through and really align our high school's program to that. Next slide, please. So we landed on this business academy. Right now we have over 120 students across 2 high schools that are enrolled in this program. And, it's been hit or miss in terms of the quality of community college instructors working in our high schools, but we've been working really hard around giving our instructors feedback, giving the deans at the business schools coming from 2 of our community college partners, feedback on how to best meet the needs of the learners that are, 15 to 18. The modality does need to be a little bit more supportive of the students that we serve, but our community college partners are really listening to that feedback and really figuring out how to best meet our students where they are and really get them to earn college credits. Last year, when we kind of betaed this program, over half of our seniors graduated with college credit under their belt. And so we're hoping to expand that number quite significantly with this rollout. Next slide, please. So, as part of our community college offering dual credit bundle, really the idea is to have 1 or 2 college classes offered each semester and in the summer. So really in the 10th, 11th, 12th grade, students would have access to intro to business, admin, marketing, finance, e-commerce, and so forth, right? And the community college also has this like certificate program. You get a certificate on entrepreneurship or business admin if you take 20 or so college classes in that field. And so our hope is that a select group of students are going to kind of rock these classes over the course of 2 to 3 years, including summers, have a certificate of completion in business admin or entrepreneurship that would qualify them for that $20 to $30 an hour job while they're going to college, working for a local entrepreneur, small business, or a large business. And so we're really excited about this. Our success rates in our Business Academy courses have been pretty strong. And, I do worry a little bit about the math courses that are going to be coming up in terms of accounting and things like that, just given the impact that math has had on the pandemic. But, through these grants, what we've been able to do is to hire a dual credit coordinator whose job is to also function as the TA for that class to ensure that students are successful in their first college classes that they're taking, especially in business, because this is new for our kiddos. Next slide, please. So the impact that we're hoping, our students getting this strong idea of how to build generational wealth. Really trying to create some experiences that I'll get into in a second about how to build social and economic capital and financial security. That is this next level of learning that we want our kids to have. We want our kids to rock a bunch of college credits because they're going to go most likely to the California CSU UC system. We talked about the jobs, and then we're trying to also figure out what work-based learning and job shadowing internship looks like. And so I'm going to get into that in just a second. Next slide, please. So we found a super awesome partner that you should look up. They're called SuitUp, and we've done a couple of learning experiences in this first semester of this rollout with them, and it is awesome for our students. So essentially what SuitUp does is they partner with local businesses and create kind of like a challenge day and a learning day for our students with a particular organization. And usually there's this like business concept, solutions design kind of work that our students get to do with their company's employees and their executives, which is like super fun for our kids. We've never done anything like this before. And, when you think about kids who have been living in Oakland over the last couple of years impacted by the pandemic, these are the experiences that I think really address income inequity and economic justice. So next slide, please. So just as an example, a few weeks ago, our students went to AWS to their very beautiful learning loft that they use to support Bay Area entrepreneurs and startups. And our students got to like just get down with a team of incredible and passionate Amazon Web Services employees, and their solution that they had to build in teams was around a business concept on social impact. And so our kids got to learn, the lanes of businesses, how AWS supports local entrepreneurs, what are the services they provide, and work shoulder to shoulder on a design concept with employees there. Super awesome opportunity. Next slide, please. We had another one where our students went to Airbnb. It is a beautiful office environment that our kids were just floored. But this is kind of how the day looks like when they take these monthly field trips. They get an opportunity to, alongside our partner SUITUP, to learn about the company, the lanes of business, kind of how their model works, what they're trying to do in their particular niche field. For Airbnb, our students haven't stayed in an Airbnb, but they've heard of it, and so this was kind of a new concept for them, really understanding how they've grown as a business that competes with the hotel and the tourism sector. They're introduced to this business case. There's some rounds of brainstorming and lunch with company executives. They like fine-tune their presentation, and then they pitch their ideas to the execs at the company. And so, our students are able to, when they had these two visits at AWS and at Airbnb, the college course that they're taking right now is business management. So they're able to connect the community college dual credit learning to an actual, like what's happening, in a real corporate setting right now. And so that was a really super opportunity for our kids. Next slide, please. Really, I think, one of the things that we're thinking deeply about is how do we connect this business academy dual credit college courses that our kids are going to be taking over the next few years with this work-based learning opportunity. So we're hoping to, over the course of this year, have, 8 or so, corporations, entities. We're hoping to land BART as one of them, which is kind of like a public-private kind of type of partnership that serves transportation needs of the East Bay and the Bay Area. We want to expose our students to, really some select organizations that really give them a different paradigm as again, to how the world works. They get really clear on their learning and how it's applied in a real business setting, and that's going to fine-tune some of their decision-making when they're in college. Next slide, please. Some of our seniors, we've been a little bit more specific on the types of internships that they're doing. And we have students that are in person as well as virtual internships with Bay Area businesses. And these are really geared toward our seniors. Through this grant, we've hired a work-based learning coordinator whose job it is to create these field trip experiences that I just talked about, as well as really focusing on summer and school year internships, both virtual and in person, that are nearby, so that our kids, we're like walking distance from a BART station that they can get to. And so we're hoping to expand this work as well, because our goal is, again, if kids are taking dual credit classes, see these work-based experience field trips that we're trying to create, we're able to then fine tune what are some internships that really meet a kid's passions and interests. And we're hoping that those internships turn into part-time job opportunities once they finish our program and most likely end up at a nearby state institution for college. And so kind of key learnings as we've had a planning year last year and an implementation this year. I just think it's really important for organizations that are leaning into this work to make public commitments and hard commitments, really thinking through how to secure funding to meet changing needs of your community post-pandemic. Get a group of community partners, business partners to get invested in your work. we're really fortunate that we've kind of shifted our thinking to really leverage local assets like our community college partners, workforce development, our regional plan, and making sure that's aligned to how we're going to rock our high schools. And then most importantly, just centering student experiences. Student experiences have been really impacted over the last couple of years in our high schools. And so we really need to get them out into the field, really experiencing some different modalities of learning, especially if we're going to address economic justice and income inequity in an area like the Bay Area, where there's just been some disproportionate impact to our Black and Brown families. And so that's kind of what we're working on right now, and really excited to continue this work over the next few years.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Rich. That was a very profound and important presentation. Please share your questions or comments in the chat for Rich. And as you're doing that, I'll start with, I don't know if it's a comment or a question, but one, I just really a comment. I just think it's a very thoughtful example of really integrating, the idea from high school to post-secondary to the workplace, and really grounded in the reality of where the kids are at, right? Not some hypothetical idea, but build from like the reality of where they live. So that was just a good shout out for that. And then the other thing that I'm finding really intriguing is I've come across a number of recent places that have come to a similar conclusion, right? That when you're dealing with sort of historically underserved populations that live in sort of challenging environments, that you really have to think about connecting post-secondary degree attainment with financial security. That really you can't really, we have this sort of in a way it's always there, but it's sort of this distant thing. Like you go to college, you learn a career, and ultimately that will lead to financial security. But there's a lot of ways not for that to happen along the way. That I think we have to much more intentionally connect it. So you could see at each step how degree attainment is connected to financial security. And I think it's going to be interesting, Rich, you may have seen this, but I've seen a couple other places that have got similar ideas now and really linking it to sort of either business or entrepreneurship and like local development. And I just think that maybe a small learning community out there of folks that can sort of learn this together of how to really connect that attainment and financial security. And then my one quick question is that and you were getting to it, and I know you just got to work it to get there, but to get enough partners so every kid gets this experience, right? It's not just that it's like we give it to some, and just what your thoughts are and like how challenging it'll be to get to all.
Yeah, I think that's the kind of the opportunity that we have as a charter school system. We have two big K-12 campuses, and so I think there's a lot that has to happen from grades K through 10 for us to make sure that our students are kind of academically and kind of socially ready for these experiences that largely fall under junior and senior year. And so I think right now it's a third of our high school students. I expect that to grow, and really making sure that we have the college course offerings as well as these kind of work-based learning opportunities that are scalable. And so I think that's really important, but there's just a lot of work to do in elementary and middle schools to table set, especially because we're working with a community that again, their levels of proficiencies have dropped, and for them to really hang in a college class or to do some shoulder to shoulder problem solving as a 17, 18-year-old with an Amazon team lead that requires some like skills that we got to do on the front end.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Any other questions? And we'll just move to open discussion or resource sharing. Thoughts for Rick or for Bryan, or anything you want to share in your work of similar efforts to sort of connect kids from high school to post-secondary attainment? And as well, folks are thinking of what they may want to share or ask, I'll just update us on a few upcoming events. We're announcing Rich and Bryan were two of our design challenge teams from 2021, 2022. We've just awarded our 22-23 Design Challenge recipients. We're so excited. We have a team from Manzano High School. We have Big Brothers, Big Sisters of Eastern Missouri. We have our Peer Power friends in Memphis. We have University of Maine. And we have this sort of perpetual winner we're not quite sure what to do about, but the ever-present and ever-innovative Philadelphia Education Fund. So they keep coming up with good ideas. You keep coming up with good ideas. You keep getting a design challenge. Next slide. We have an upcoming forum on December 13th. We're going to actually look at some of the innovations during the pandemic from across our network. We're working on a collaborative conversation idea. More to come on that. This is really going to be about connecting K-12 and higher ed, so very much to the point of what we're doing here. We have a design education podcast series just out with a new one yesterday on high school redesign from Sonia Robinson from the Mississippi Department of Education. So I ask everyone who's interested to check out our Designing Education podcast. And finally, we have some affiliated upcoming events with the Grad Partnership, which is sort of an offshoot of Pathways to Adult Success. On Thursday with the Superintendent's Association, we have Rebuilding Student Supports for Pandemic Impacted Times, and a community of practice on how a city learned to improve graduation rates. And to the point, working with post-secondary readiness indicators coming up. So lots of opportunities for us to keep learning and sharing. And I see we have a question did come in for Rich from Grace. Do you plan to connect students to nonprofits as well, or do you find that the pay rate is an issue and so focus primarily on businesses?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we are trying to line up, the city of Oakland and their like public works and kind of city planning divisions as like a host for one of our visits, just so that they can look at how business concepts apply to governmental agencies. We have a very strong supporter in our city council member and our newly elected mayor around this, so we're really excited for that. And then we have a short list of potential nonprofit partners, because I do think that there's definitely some nonprofit partners that could that would be a nice segue for this. And even as a charter school like ours, we're a nonprofit. We work with a lot of local nonprofits. There are accounting, marketing, and business admin lessons that could easily connect. So those are on our radar. But just to get some excitement in front of kids, like doing Airbnb and Amazon were kind of the first two we lined up, just because their corporate offices are like, it's just right across the bay, and our kids have never seen it before, and it kind of like gets a 16-year-old kind of curious and excited about it.
Thank you. And I really want to thank Rich and Bryan and their work and their teams for a really amazing work they're doing, and for a great presentation, and everyone for a great discussion today. And we just want to thank you and say, be well and onward. And we will follow up with the recording of the session and slides and references, and onward till we see you for the next one. Be well.